this 4:30, yeah, the 4:30, 7:30 timing is actually optimum because it's before the West Coast has its dinner, and it should be after the East Coast had their dinner. Because the people in the middle always suffer from timings.
Right.
We didn't have dinner yet, but we had a birthday party, so we shared the cake and some ice cream.
Ah, whose birthday? Your birthday? No.
Ken Parks. He was
Okay.
very active with Pastors for Peace. And he went to Cuba many times. And he takes care of the Black family in Cuba.
Okay. All right.
Okay, it's 7:32. Let's get started. I'm asking for a note taker and a vibes watcher and a timekeeper.
I can be a timekeeper.
Okay.
I have the time in front of me.
I'll be the voice, the vibe watcher, Robin.
Okay.
So you only have left the hard one.
Yeah. The hard one is the note taker.
I did that not so long ago.
Right. Let's have somebody who hasn't done it in a while or ever. I offer you brownie points. Next time I see you, I bring you brownies.
I wanted to speak to Bruce.
I will try, but what do I do? Do I just try to my very best to record verbatim?
Well, however you feel most comfortable. You can do verbatim if you're a fast typist and that's how you feel more comfortable, or you can just jot down notes about decisions that are being made and important points that are made. And then you send them to Cheryl, and she will put them together with her notes. And we also will have. I'm recording it, so I'll send you the link to the recording, so you don't have to get too worried about it during the discussion.
Can I just send what I write to Cheryl, and do I have to go back and check against your recording?
You don't have to, Peggy. What's really helpful if you at the beginning of each paragraph you say agenda item 2, agenda item 4, agenda item 5, little I, for example.
Do you have the agenda in front of you?
No, I'll go get that.
Well, how about giving me your email address, and then I can send it to you right now.
That would be good.
Okay.
Peg Dobbins at Gmail.
It's what?
PEGDOBBINS at Gmail.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that then. Thank you for offering.
Yes, thank you. The first thing we try to note is who's actually attending. And I've already made my list, but it's helpful if you can look in gallery view. Does everybody look in gallery view at your Zoom? It's really helpful. You can see, at the moment I can see 9 of you, for example. And then I go to the second page, I see more.
13.
Right, so you have to go to 2. On my little screen, I go to 2 pages. Okay, but I recommend a gallery view for everybody.
Okay, Peggy, I've sent.
Did you send that? I haven't seen it. Let's see.
It just went out.
Okay.
It usually takes a little while it travels around the world.
Bounces about.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So the next is, tell us your name and location, please.
Revise agenda.
Oh, I don't have the revised agenda.
It's there just underneath where it says, yeah. So I would like to suggest that under the hot topics.
Can you put it in the chat?
Yeah, under the hot topics that I add, Odile will give us what she knows about our Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee, what they're doing about this awful fighting in Gaza and Israel. And then I think we should take a few minutes to talk about it.
You know,
amongst
Cheryl,
ourselves.
why don't you facilitate this time?
If
Please,
you want.
will you do that?
I can, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So if everybody's okay with that, we will add that. I think we can call it a hot topic without any exaggeration. Anybody else got anything else that we missed in the agenda that doesn't? I mean, we've got all the campaign reports are there.
Can you put the chat, the agenda in the chat?
I'll do that.
Okay.
What I got of the agenda, I added that to the hot topic.
McGregor, we can talk about ICBMs in campaign reports 5 little I. Okay, that's where we usually talk about them. Okay, I just saw McGregor ask for something. Okay, all right, fine.
She says
Right.
there will be another minute, man.
Yeah. So,
I
but
see.
she can talk about it in
Yeah.
the agenda.
Okay. Oh,
For now-
thank you. I see the agenda in a minute. In the
Right. Yes, well, the agenda was sent actually as in the body of an email. I know some of you don't have Word, and that comes in Word, but that's why I send it in the body of an email. So most of you can, I think, can read
Yeah,
email.
but we cannot be on the Zoom and see the agenda in same time.
Okay.
Print,
Okay.
print so you can write notes on it.
Yeah,
I do.
you know, right. Fine. All right. So here we're up to 2A in the agenda now. Peggy, if you want to know where we are, 2A.
Got you. Thank you.
We're just going to go through, say who we are and where we're sitting right now and which branch, if we're at a branch.
Introductions quickly.
Yes. So I will call on you as I see you on my screen. Robin.
Yeah, Robin Lloyd, Burlington, Vermont, WILPF.
Thank you. Odile.
Odile Huguenot-Heber, Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's Ann Arbor Ypsilanti branch in Michigan. Thank you.
Margot. Thank you. Margot.
Yes. I am in Indigenous Newfoundland Territory, Sacramento, California, Sacramento branch of WILPF.
Thank you. Philip, if you can.
Yeah, Philip Cole, a member of the San Francisco branch of WILPF, living in San Bruno, California. Thank you.
Thank you. Joan.
Hi, Joan Goddard, the San Jose branch, Southern San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you.
Peggy.
Peggy Dobbins, Atlanta.
Thank you. Pam.
Pam Richard, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay, we'll go to the next page. Let's see. Hideko.
Who was that?
But I think she's just disappeared from her screen. So let's go to McGregor.
McGregor Eddie, Salinas, California.
Thank you. Diane.
Diane Blay in Fairfax, Virginia.
Margaret in Tucson. You need to unmute.
Hi, I'm Margaret from Tucson. Margaret Becklow.
In the Tucson branch, right?
Right.
All right. Martha Spees.
Portland, Maine.
Thank you. And Hideko, are you there? Okay. All right. Well, I think we all know where she is. She's in Oregon.
What is her name? I can't see because I'm.
Hideko, Hideko.
Oh, okay.
There she is.
Okay.
She's back.
Okay.
Hideko Tamura.
Mhm.
I just see furniture.
She's there.
Hideko, do you just say hello, please?
Okay.
Is she
Alan,
okay?
well, she was a moment ago. Alan Haber, would you just introduce yourself? Unmute.
Unmute.
Cross the room and.
A little late getting in, yes. So I'm Alan Haber, right next door to Odile in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti.
Thank you. And I can tell you, okay, I believe I got everybody. I can tell you we have received regrets from Gloria Macmillan, who has some kind of deadline for an article she's working on. Nancy Price is on a plane between Los Angeles and Sacramento that she wasn't, it was running late. She would have come, but the damn plane is late. And Andre was here to tell us he wasn't feeling very well. And so he left. Okay, so those are the regrets. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Don't we have someone called Bruce?
No.
No, unfortunately, he's
anymore.
not here at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been talking to him recently. He and you were going to do something.
Yeah.
So, anybody got a short report on something you did for WILPF that isn't on the agenda since the last
Yes,
meeting?
I can.
You'll be on the agenda, Peggy,
Oh, okay.
because you will be reporting on action you did in Atlanta, which will be covered under 4A.
Okay.
Okay, so anybody who did anything for those 2 weeks of action, you'll have your chance in A. I see Alan's hand.
Oh, Hideko is here.
Yeah, good. Alan, you wanted to add something to the agenda?
I did something that wasn't on the agenda. I like on the agenda raised last time. I had a further conversation with Cora Weiss about the Hague Appeal for Peace, the 25th anniversary coming up, and who has resources that could help us, which when we can come to talk about something like that, I'll report on that. But
okay, I think
We
I
can
think
put that at the end of under other business.
fine.
okay, thank you. All right, so minutes. The next item is the item 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes of the 24th of September. I sent them out on early Friday. Diane was kind enough to find my grammatical errors, spaces that weren't there, quote marks that were needed. So I did all that. I sent you out them again. And it's nobody else had any problems with them. Can we please approve the minutes of the 24th of September? Anybody not approve them or has further problems with the content? Not hearing any problems. Let's mark them as approved unanimously, please. Thank you to Robin, who started them off, and Diane, who helped to correct them. All right, hot topics. We have now 3 hot topics, and I think we'll take the current situation in Gaza in Israel as the first hot topic. And I asked Odile to find out, we have a Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee, who I consider it's their responsibility. If there is a statement, that they will work on it, please. Thank you.
So Tura is writing a statement that will be sent as an e-alert, and the committee has not really met, but we will read what she writes, and usually we collectively add our little piece. And the important thing is that we were very shocked because we are we have a document called Hamas at the Peace Table. And we had a member who was a long time with us, but now is probably in Palestine. And she made sure that we understood that Hamas was non-violent, and President Biden said, oh, this was a non-provoked attack. But he forgets that 2.5 million people live in Gaza under horrific conditions. It's a very, very small area. They are centered all around by soldiers. Every day there is somebody shot or maimed. And every day there is some kind of, they are under wires for checkpoint. The children can be wounded easily. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Hamas is living under terrific oppression, and 2.5 million people living there. It's an exploding situation. And the provocation is the occupation. That's what the provocation is, a constant occupation of so many people in such a little space. So it's going to explode one time or another. And it just did exploded, and it seems like they organize themselves and they enter throughout Israel in many different ways, from boat, from gliders, from bicycles. So they enter and they try to catch a lot of Israeli to make them hostage, because they always are afraid the Israeli are going to bomb the hell out of Gaza one more time. They don't have infrastructure, they don't have electricity, they don't have water that is safe. So it's a very bad situation for them. Anyway, we know that it has happened all the time, but what in terms of disarm, you have to remember that the congressional budget has money for Iron Dome. And Iron Dome is kind of an umbrella protector of missile that's over Israel. But it needs to be tested every year or every 2 years. So it's part of giving them millions of dollars to the Israeli for this Iron Dome, is that Hamas has to test it by sending their missile. Because if not, it would never be tested, and we wouldn't give the millions of dollars to the Israeli. So it's a part of a war system. And we have to really end this war system. We have to pressure them to start negotiation, maybe not for peace, but for a status quo that would be tolerable of both ethnicity. Anyway, that's what the future needs to be. So that's all I will say for now.
Thank you, Odile. Just, I've been getting lots of information from the BBC. So Gaza is just twice the area of Washington, DC, and it has this 2.5 million people, and it's the densest living population in the world. And you've probably seen they're just attacking it, and buildings are coming down as if they were being demolished. And some people call this apartheid, the way the Palestinians are treated. And so, you know, everybody's
it's not some people, it's Amnesty International who calls apartheid.
Apartheid, okay. And other, I think I've seen it in several other organizations. So I see your hand, Robin. I just wanted to say one more thing, which is the one of my branch here in Palo Alto, who is Jewish. I wouldn't call her a practicing Jew, but anyway, the point she has been writing to us in our branch is this is a war against women. She says that the current Israeli government, very right-wing, very conservative, very misogynist, And so the women in Israel have been suffering from their own government, their own religious fanatics, that those that were at that music festival, where they now say there's 250 dead from the attacks at the music festival, they were there trying to, flee from this misogynistic attacks that they get from their own Israeli people, okay? And so what happens to them is then they're attacked by the Hamas, who are unfortunately also misogynistic. So what we have is women and girls suffering from war, as we know, tends to be, unfortunately, what happens in war is that the women and girls suffer more than everybody else. So just please bear that in mind. And Robin, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to respond that I finally on BBC saw a map of the communities that Hamas is supposedly attacking. And of course, they're right around the Gaza border. And I would love someone to do some research on these communities. I assume that these are communities made up of the settlers who are continually bombarding or intervening into Gaza and cutting down their trees and besieging them. I may be wrong, but in other words, Gaza, the militants in Gaza are reacting to the people who have been quietly to the world, but to them wreaking havoc on their communities.
You are quite right. When Alan and I were in Gaza with a trip of Sabil, we saw a field where the Palestinian men just plow it in the morning, and the afternoon the settler took over his field, and we were a delegation of about 25 people, and we protested. Why are you taking this field that belongs to this Palestinian farmer? He said to us, he was a young Israeli, he said, because of the Holocaust. That's what he said to us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Such lack of communication between people. It's incredible.
Yeah, people don't know what's going on either side, really, about the other side.
Yeah, I see Gloria is
just arrived, and you won't. We're just talking freely about the situation in Gaza and Israel.
Yes.
But we're not trying to take a great deal of time on this. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have a fast comment. I taught a student whose uncle has a big casino here in Tucson, and they're Jewish. His name is Diamond, the family. And the student had studied in Israel, and we were doing persuasive essays. And his topic was he was going to prove that the Palestinians did not exist.
And
I tried to get him to limit his claim. I said, you're only going to convince people who already agree. And evidently the point was that they're just a bunch of Bedouins who brought their camels together at some point. They're not a nation.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. Then I saw Alan next. I'm trying to remember who came up first.
I think Joan was next.
Oh, Joan, sorry, Joan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it seems as if this one way I look at it is that this attack by Hamas, unfortunate though the whole situation of fighting and bombing and killing people was like an incident that was in response to continuous horrible things that keep happening to small numbers perhaps, but ongoing things, both in the southern part of where the people are being kicked out of their homes and schools and so on, but also just people being killed here and there and everywhere. And the whole idea that person Gloria talked about says Palestinians do not exist is an indication of ignorance and part of the difficulty, I guess, that people just do not get it, that for hundreds and hundreds of years, they've been able to live there. And then all of a sudden, oh no, it's Israel now. Anyway, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
there
Jim.
were town, roads, buildings, institute, university before the Israeli came.
Alan?
Yes, well, I, th- I think that maybe it is for the Middle East Justice Group to come to a policy, and there was a letter that circulated searching for that. My view is that this is an occasion where WILPF should get together with Fellowship of Reconciliation and War Resisters International and World Beyond War, some organizations, and make a unified call for a ceasefire, and all the parties come to the table to talk this out and not to reproduce the same horrors, and to raise the question of how do you really deal with that pain of the war? What is the redemption that can actually address the anguish that is unleashed by this kind of violence and counter violence? So I would urge us to consider, and maybe through the Middle East Committee and what Tura is writing as an alert, that we try and get other peace organizations to have a call for peace, ceasefire, and come to the table to talk.
Thank you, Alan. We, I have seen several statements from several different organizations. I haven't seen yet anybody trying to bring us together, although I can quite imagine that somebody like David Swanson from World Beyond War might be trying to do that. It's just we haven't seen it yet. Pam, you were next.
Okay, thanks. I was just at a 2-hour meeting today with the Palestinian community of Milwaukee, and we've been working out a strategy plan to go forward, how to respond to this and change the narrative of Palestinians as terrorists, and do the education and break through the media blockade of the truth. And not that it was right to kill any Israelis, but it was not an unprovoked attack, etc. So we're going to have a sending out something to our local people to contact the representatives tomorrow. Tuesday, we're having a press conference. On Wednesday, we're having a protest. Now, if you're interested in protest, there's this group called the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, and they are trying to keep track of the protests that are around the U.S. So you can go there and look for protests. I would put it in the chat, but my internet is not so great right now. I'm on my phone. And so I will just keep us, I said I was with Peace Action, but I think I'm going to mention Women's International League for Peace and Freedom too. Maybe I can get somebody to come with me so it doesn't look like I'm just the one person doing all of it. Anyway, so yes. We're in there.
Thank you,
We're
Pam,
in the room with the Palestinian
thank
people.
you. Right, thank you for all what you've been doing.
Would
There were
you
people
would you
outside
send
the
photos? Would you send photos and a statement to me to put up on the WILPF Smart page, Pam, please?
Yes, if and when you have some action. There was to be action outside the Israeli consulate here in San Francisco today. I'm sure a bunch of people got to that. Same people who I demonstrated with last Wednesday for peace in Ukraine. Margot, you're next.
Thank you. I just wanted to say briefly that I think it's important to emphasize the role of Gaza in the classic sense of Jewish history almost. It's a ghetto. And I'm thinking of ghettos like Venice in 1516, which was the first sort of usually history. The ghetto in Venice, which ghetto meant ironworks. It was a casting works where Jews were isolated. Because what happened after the 1947-1949 war, during and after it, many Palestinians who live in Gaza, 60 or 70% at least, originally lived in southern Israel, and they lived in the areas that they're now bombarding with rockets, ironically. And I think the other painful part of this crisis, and I say this as someone coming from a Jewish heritage, is that probably a lot of Jews in the cities would perhaps rather face incoming Palestinian rockets than incoming peaceful Palestinian neighbors. And so it's really we're dealing with structural violence and physical violence. And I think that there's been almost like, a fear of having having a peace solution which would really address the last 75.
Okay. Margot, you became muted suddenly. Are you done? And Pam, could you mute yourself, please?
I don't know how that happened. I have no idea how that happened because I'm shown. Should I repeat that?
Just the last sentence.
Yeah, I think that the last 75 years of injustice, it's structural violence. And I think it results in horrible physical violence on both sides. I think it really needs to be addressed. That's all I would have to say now. I don't want to talk too long.
Thank you. Gloria, is your hand up again?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm putting in a link to this editorial about rhetoric and its role in heating up situations. And we know President Netanyahu has about the worst track record, other than a few hotheads on the other side. It's very important not to just limit it to the physical objects thrown or shot. You have to think about rhetoric that precedes that. And here's my link.
Thank you. And then somebody else, Pam, we're looking for your link. Okay, so
I can't send the link. I'm on my phone. I'll have to send it to you later.
Oh, you can send it by email to me later.
Yes.
I don't see any more hands up. Do we feel we've?
Could I speak? I'm
Yes,
taking
Peggy.
note.
No, go ahead.
Well, when I studied this, which was in 1960, and at that time, that was my student project, and it was the question of what was the cause for the recognition of Israel. And my assignment, two Jewish girls did the Jewish lobby, and my assignment was to do the oil and Arab lobby. And what I learned was that focusing at that time, there was Nasser and there were Arab socialists, and so what I learned then was that it was very desirable to focus the Arab Street, it was called then, to focus the Arab Street on Israeli occupation of Palestine, and keep them, and so they would not do things like the Iranian nationalization of oil. And at that time, I had a boyfriend who was in the CIA, and he had been assigned to work in the Palestinian refugee camps. And at the time, I said, so why don't they they didn't really call them Palestinians then, they called them Arabs. I said, so why don't they, the Saudi Arabians have a lot of oil and here, and they don't have many people. Why don't they get citizenship in Saudi Arabia? And he said, oh no, keeping them in the refugee camps keeps them stirred up and angry at the Israelis, so they won't get involved in enterprises like nationalizing oil.
Thank you, Peggy. I hope you remember what you said, so you'll put it in the minutes. We have learned.
No, I didn't.
But you will.
I just sort of rambled, but
that's okay. We have learned over the last 2 or 3 years how natural resources, and especially oil, is at the root of many conflicts that have happened in the last 100 years. That the moment that the British Navy decided to use oil instead of coal to fuel its ships, and so the British Navy was off looking for oil. We've had one conflict after another over oil, and so that's interesting. The what you just told us, Philip. You, and then that'll be the end of this discussion.
Yeah, it's 8:06.
Thank you, Philip.
Okay. The only thing I have to say, and I may not be the most intelligent one in this group, but I believe that the Arab world has used the Palestinians as pawns from the time of the Balfour Declaration to date. And I think those Arab nations are as guilty as the Israelis. And I don't think there's any innocent parties in this equation whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. What did you refer to? The something conflagration? What was that?
The Balfour Declaration, Balfour.
Can you spell that for us? It's not, I don't know it.
BALFOUR.
Balfour. Ah. Okay, BAL, it's an English politician, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Unfortunately, this is a ongoing story. I do recommend that you know, take a look at your favorite news channel to keep up with what's going on. So now we'll go to hot topic 4A, Ukraine. So we've just ending today this global week of action, and I know some of you have been out on the streets, and so I'm inviting you to give us just a short report on what you did. Peggy, you sent something?
Yeah, let me start so that I can get back to note taking. Yes, Atlanta did have a rally for peace in Ukraine, and we were there with our signs on the street. We were glad to be there and find each other. And I will just sum up what my particular point was, that that the agreement, September the 30th, 2023, was, in my opinion, a divine intervention. And since nobody seems to want to have claimed credit for it, but it was, in fact, a bipartisan agreement. And it was a bipartisan agreement to fund what we need, not war. And so I called for us to call on our representatives to tell them that we want them to continue the continuing resolution and make it a continuous revolution, and pledge to a new bipartisan creed to fund what we need, not war, not greed. So it's, that's sort of an ironic position, but it is extraordinary that it happened. And that's about all I can say.
Thank you, Peggy. Peggy did send us some photographs, and I must say the video, when I went to look for it, was 150 megabytes, and I wasn't going to download that, but
Okay.
I did see
something with it.
What you said. Odile, you have something to report?
Yes, we were about 10 people. It's called Ann Arbor Coalition Against the War. We pass a flyer. We are at a corner of close to the university, and not many students pay attention to us, but I was supported by a Russian astronomer who teach astronomy at the University of Michigan. And he said, it's good that you are out educating people. That's important to do that. And we have, some are making music. There is a guy who has a bell, and he invites people to push the bell, ring the bell for peace. And we have people playing drums. And so we make noise, and we are there with signs, a lot of signs. We have a giant sign that says de-escalate, de-escalation. And then we have many signs saying negotiation, and the war system. Alan has a sign saying and the war system. We're trying to incorporate more wars than just the Ukrainian war, and the fact that it's affecting the whole world.
What day was when, Odile?
Every Friday from 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6:30 in front of the federal building.
What day, Odile?
Friday.
Ann Arbor,
Every Friday is Ann Arbor there.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay. I thought I saw Joan, your hand was up a moment ago. Did you do something in San Jose? You can see you're struggling.
No, I was just going to say that Peggy's video was wonderful.
Oh, you were able to run it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it took me a while to get my thing turned on.
Okay, so I will, not seeing anybody else's hand at the moment, I will report on what we did here in San Francisco. As you know, we're part of the Peace in Ukraine Coalition. That was the overall organizer for this 8 days of actions, and there were over 30 in all over the country. And I was part of a Northern California planning group, and we decided to do two different things. One was outside the BlackRock offices in the financial district of San Francisco, and we created. I wasn't part of this, but I did. I was the printer of all the flyers. Why it is that we don't like BlackRock, and there were 5 questions on one side of the flyer, and then the answers were on the other. And so, what is BlackRock? Well, it's a multinational investment company, has assets of $9 trillion, and it manages investments in many sectors, but includes weapons manufacture, security operations, construction, and natural resource extraction. Okay, all the things we don't like. They donate to political campaigns, both parties, and so because they have so much money, they get a seat at the table that other people don't when policy is being set. And so they're investors, and of course they make money when their investors make money, are making money off the fact that weapons manufacturers are producing these weapons that are bombarding, being used in Ukraine. But at the same time, as we noted the other meeting, BlackRock, for some reason, has been given permission to help rebuild Ukraine. So first of all, it facilitates the destruction of Ukraine, and then after the war comes to an end, as it surely will sooner or later, they will be in charge of helping to invest in Ukraine. So
always like that.
So this is that's so we were outside BlackRock. We had banners. There were about 8 different organizations there. We handed out those flyers, and then we marched 3 blocks over to a BART station outside Montgomery and Market in the middle of the financial district. And we timed it to be there as people came out of their offices going home. And again, we set up there. We had a loudspeaker system provided by Code Pink, our local Code Pink. And we'd asked for speakers. I offered to speak for WILPF, and we were given 2 minutes each. Of course, some people went over. I tried to time mine. I will send you a copy of it. I decided that the focus of my speech would be about the effect of war on women and girls, and how we suffer out of proportion to everybody else, and that women needed to be at the negotiating table when this war, the focus was we need a diplomatic end to this war. That's the Peace in Ukraine Coalition. Its philosophy, its point of view is no more weapons to Ukraine. It's just extending an already deadly war where, as you know, everybody's suffering. So there weren't that many. I would say there were probably 50 of us, but hundreds of people walked by, and I personally handed out. We have another flyer, which is the Peace in Ukraine flyer, and we had posters made. People came with their own posters. Anyway, but we didn't get any press coverage, although we had a person who sent out press releases. So I went with one of my branch and it was very hot. It was 85 in San Francisco, which is warm, but it actually was better than if it had been raining or foggy. Anyway, so Robin, you did quite a lot of things in Burlington. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, first I wanted to ask whether the head of BlackRock was Stephen Schwartzman, and now I see he's head of Blackstone, which is different, but he's a multi-billionaire, and it so happens my son is a photographer and was just at his home taking pictures of why he has given $4 million to a veterinary animal hospital in Manhattan. And so anyway, I was just getting distracted there. Yeah, no, in Burlington, we had a co-joined event with Medea Benjamin and Code Pink in New York City, and they went to Bernie's office and protested and asked to speak to him, and he didn't come out, and they got themselves arrested, I think 11 people. And the clip that was put on Democracy Now! Was quite wonderful. I mean, they always, they are so good at how they look. They were all dressed in pink and so on, and holding little heads of Bernie on a stick. And Medea Benjamin's main point was very simple. She said, you know, people who are continuing this war say, we can't talk to Putin. We don't believe him. He won't tell us. And Medea said one word: try him, talk to him, say something. So I thought that was simple and very effective. In terms of us in Burlington, the woman from Bernie's office came down. She listened while we talked to her. Then some people blocked the street. Others did not want to do that. I thought we were not ready for that kind of action. And it was very hot. The police chief came out and said, listen, we have a lot of other crises in town, like opioid epidemic, blah, blah, blah. We can't spend any policemen to arrest you. So you're going to sit here and broil. It was 80 degrees in the sun. So our folks stayed there for another hour or so and declared victory and went home. But we had good media coverage. Good. I mean, we had two media sources. One gave a very thorough and favorable report, and the other was the TV news, who basically interviewed, for example, the bus that was blocked because of our sit-in, and, you know, in other words, the periphery of the demonstration and not the real essence of it. So, but we feel good about it. We're going to talk it over again. And Jill Clark Golub, who is a new member of our branch, is a terrific organizer, and she helped, and she's going to keep going, but she also is moving down to Diane's neighborhood in next month. She's 6 months here, 6 months there.
Okay, thank you, Robin.
Very good.
And so I would just, the previous evening, the 3rd, was the live stream from a meeting in DC. I believe I saw you there, Diane, with your white sash on at the very end, as they were. So Diane was our representative there. We were called out as one of the co-sponsors of that. I'd just like a show of hands, who actually watched that live stream of Cornell West and other people on the evening of the 3rd. It is something that I sent you reminders about. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right. I think anybody else got anything to report? Yes, Gloria from Arizona.
I have a question to everyone, and it regards how can we find out. Here's a company called BlackRock. Let me get this typed in.
It's an investment company. It's
No,
not.
but let me finish. Let me finish. It's in Tucson, and I want to know if it's connected. It's a big mining outfit in Tucson. I want to know if it's connected, so we have a local place that we can march at.
Good.
Any help on that would be much appreciated. Is that connected to the other BlackRock, which has so many different subsidiaries and activities? If you look at the website, it's already got another couple locations, and it looks like a pretty big operation.
It did say it invests in mineral extraction.
Yeah, well,
so they may well be
we'll have to
associated.
find out. We're picketing the right place, but that means we do have somewhere in Tucson that we can picket that's BlackRock.
And you can get your public library to help you figure it out.
No, I can do it myself online, but I thought if any of you know, we can do it faster if you have, some of you have some insider knowledge.
Can I inject something here? Cheryl.
Peggy?
Yeah. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, as well as Larry Fink of BlackRock, is very involved. And I read, I don't have it at my fingertips, but I have read that when Zelensky, after some people think he was recruited, but when he was trying to decide where to invest the money he made as a big TV star, JP Morgan was his banker and advised him, and he bought a lot of. He has 5 extraordinary villas. That I'm not documenting what I'm saying to you, but maybe if others do Google, you will probably find what I found also.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I think that's probably enough. I think everybody who did something out in the streets is reported. Thank you, everybody. It is important. I mean, some of the actions, especially Code Pink, actually went into Bernie Sanders' office and sat there and got arrested. And the fact that one of them was an old lady, you know, was very much talked about, old, 85-ish.
Yes, okay.
Was very much talked about in the newspapers. So, okay, diffuse nuclear war had an action that ended on the 30th of September. We, my branch, every Friday we vigil for an hour at a busy intersection in Palo Alto, and for two Fridays we concentrated on getting rid of nuclear weapons. And then last Friday, on top of what we did in San Francisco, we had our normal vigil talking about the peace in Ukraine and diplomatic ending as the only way to go. Just also to say that the UN Security Council has been meeting today about the situation in Gaza and Israel. And again, if you go on your most popular website for news, you will find out what so the Palestinian ambassador was there and the Israeli ambassador was there, and they addressed the Security Council. I think it was a closed session, but somehow or other the press was allowed to find out what was said. So the Security Council, amongst others, are trying to bring this whole thing to a close. Anybody else want to say anything extra they did about the ICBMs? But there is a planning meeting, which I put in the agenda there on the 16th. So diffuse nuclear war plans ahead for its actions. I will be going as a representative of WILPF, but other people are welcome to come. Gloria, you had your hand up for something?
Well, if this is specifically diffuse nuclear war, this is not the place.
Right, it's diffuse nuclear war.
Okay.
We're on 4B in the agenda. Okay. All right, so I think we can move on to the campaign report. And again, I've written all 11 down. The people aren't here. We don't get to hear about it. I've assigned 60 minutes, which means, 5-6 minutes each. And let's see. So I will do 5 little I first, which is called continue to press for disarmament. So we have a delegation of 6 people who intend to go to New York City to the UN for what they call a second meeting of states parties to the TPNW. 4 of our people are going to be staying with relatives, or they actually live in the city. Odile and I finally got a hotel booked. But the really interesting thing is that we discussed amongst ourselves by email, if we did a side event inside the UN building, what would it be? And we decided divesting from nuclear weapons manufacturers would be our topic. I wrote to Susie Snyder of ICANN, who is their lead campaigner on divestment, very knowledgeable. She's in Geneva. I wrote to her at midnight. She writes right back to me because she's up in Geneva. Yes, she would be happy to have WILPF collaborate with her on a side event. She already had a concept note written out about it, but she was just going into her weekend, and she's not, you know, she works for ICANN, so she's not a volunteer, so she doesn't work at weekends. Okay. So I will be having a conversation with her at 9 o'clock my time tomorrow. And at the end of this meeting, those of us who are in that delegation are going to stay on this Zoom so we can discuss amongst ourselves what we think we can do to help with this side event. There are there are side events that are inside the UN building that only delegates with the correct pass can get to. Then there are a lot of other events happen outside the building, and there are at least 3 that anybody who's in New York City can get to, including there will be a rally and a march from a place called the Isaiah Wall, which is just near the UN. It's the go-to place for demonstrations outside the UN building and things like that. So we delegates will be working out what we can do inside and outside, and we will make the focus divestment for the moment. That's the choice. So
The time, what is the time for the march from the Isaiah Wall?
you should look at the email I sent you, Odile, with that
Okay.
information. Okay.
Thank you.
They time them not to overlap with other important things. They're
Okay.
very aware of what's going on, and so they try to time these things. So some things are in the evening, right? The UN diplomats tend to quit around 6 o'clock, so other events don't start till 7:30 and things like that. So okay. So that was so I'm happy to say we don't know if we've been given accreditation yet. We won't know till November the 10th. They're waiting very long, but we'll be part of a WILPF delegation. There are already people from Austria, Germany, and one other place who intend to come. WILPFers from those countries will be part of the overall delegation. We won't just be us. Okay. All right. So now 5-2.
Did you get me listed that I'm one of the delegates?
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. I wrote to the lady in Geneva. So WILPF WILPF and ICANN are both in Geneva. So I spend a lot of time talking to them, so to speak. Okay. So the next item is 5. And there you have, we still want you to write to your representatives about the bill HR 2775, which hopefully now you recognize that number as being what we call the Norton bill. With regard to the golden rule, at the demonstration in San Francisco, Jerry Condon was there, who is one of the leaders of the golden rule journey and owns the boat. And he told me that they got it as far as Humboldt, and for some reason they were going to have to sail it up the coast. They trucked it. It finished its Great Lakes tour. They trucked it across here, but then it was too big for some bridge or something on the way. So anyway, so the golden rule has done a fabulous educational tour. and it gets a lot of good publicity when it goes there. So they will be getting the boat all the way home to Samoa, which is not the Samoa in the Pacific, but there's a town called Samoa in Northern California. Ellen, is that sufficient information about the Norton bill? Was there anything, any new co-sponsors?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right. So let's go on to number 3. Okay, which is, you know, as I sent you a list of all the coalitions we're members of. Warheads to Windmills is one of them, started by Tim and Wallace and Vicky Elson, who are also Nuclear Ban US. And McGregor had said she would be our liaison to that group, but then it turned out McGregor was appointed to some police commission-like thing in her hometown, which meets at just the same time as the planning of this, of Warheads to Windmills. So we need another liaison for that, dealing with this. It's not necessary that, you know, we send 10 people to these other coalitions, but at least one person. But the thing we want you all to pay attention to is this event that Ellen's just put on the screen. It is trying to, Pam has just put something in the chat. She's explained there's some 1,500-year-old redwoods in the way of them trying to truck the boat. So that's why they're going to have to sail it up the coast. Okay. So Warheads to Windmills is suggesting, you know, that we stop funding building nuclear weapons and use all that money that's saved on mitigating climate change. And this will be next Saturday, 12 till 2 Eastern time. Please, there is a registration link in the agenda, and we'd like us to see lots of you there. And it's free, and you will learn stuff. The coalition is heavy on the anti-nuclear weapons side, because that's where Tim and Vicky came from. So there are a lot of contacts, but they're trying to build up the climate environmental side of that coalition. So if in your local branch, your town, you know some environmental organizations who are working on climate change to improve the situation with the climate, please send that link, invite them to come to this free webinar with knowledgeable speakers, because we do want to enhance that side. And so Timon's written a book, which we talked about last time. I think Robin bought 10 copies of it. I don't think it's arrived yet. It's not been published yet. You know, it's like a thesis that he's written about how to do this and what it means. So right now, if you've got something, it's just a summary. It's still a 30-page summary. So you can imagine how big the full report will be. So anyway, so that's one of the coalitions we're in. So WILPF is an official co-sponsor of the Warheads to Windmills Coalition. Okay.
I will be there.
Okay, you're going to be there in person on the web.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on the web. It's so easy. You know, they've timed it so it's 9 o'clock in California, so even people like me can attend, who is a night owl. So please try to go. Any other coalition reports that anybody has that they were? Well, I'm still looking for, you know, someone to take over from McGregor. I'd rather not go. I'm a liaison to too many coalitions. So we're looking, if you can't think of it right now, write to me later. It's, you know, once a month for an hour and a half.
Cheryl?
Yes, McGregor?
I would offer to be on a different coalition as a trade-off. I am working with Diffused Nuclear War on a regular basis now. Tuesday, we're taping an interview with Judy Tologan or Greg Mello. We don't know which one yet. As one of the Vandenberg educational pieces to be ready to go at the next launch. So we have statements ready. So I'm working with them almost every other week. So
Okay.
I would be very handy to be the liaison to diffuse nuclear war.
Okay, all right. Well, let's you and I
I offer.
discuss
Yeah.
this offline. All right, thank you, McGregor, for that
Sure.
suggestion.
I will be attending, representing Proposition 1 campaign, but also WILF, but it would be good to have another WILF member also be there because the nuclear ban US, the warheads to windmills, folks like to be able to list everybody, you know, every group that's part of it, having a representative at these meetings so that we all know what's going on. And of course, I'll report if nobody else is there.
Are you talking about the
Warhead.
Woodville meeting next
Yeah,
Saturday?
October 14th, right? I just
Okay.
put a bunch of links into the chat about it.
Well, that's a webinar open to everybody, including the public. In particular, they have planning meetings between the webinars, right? So it's the looking for somebody who will go to the planning meetings, which I believe Ellen does as a Prop 1 person, but we'd like a WILF person as well to keep track and offer our help where we can. One of the main things we do in these coalitions is inform our branches about what's going on and try to get the branches to do things.
Ellen can do that. She's WILF and Proposition 1 together.
Right. It's better if we have two people, one each, if we can, I would say. So anyway, I'll be seeing whose arms I can twist and talking about it to McGregor. Okay, so now we're up to 5(4), interacting with the media. Gloria sent out something earlier because she didn't think she was going to be here. So Gloria, would you like to spend a few minutes telling us about things you're doing and what we should be paying attention to with regard to the media?
Well, of course, I'm limited. I'm in one group, but I am online. And we're working with the Chicago branch Restart. If anyone wants to know more about that, that's the original branch of WILF. That's going to have an event on November the 4th. But in terms of working with the media, it is very controlled here in Arizona. What you say, Robin, that you can do, we can't do. We could never do what you're doing in, there in Vermont. You're in a whole different world about getting any kind of response from media. We're frozen out of PBS, and it's just difficult because people have so given up here in Tucson. But what I'm doing is I'm attending their community advisory board meetings. The next one is, I think, November the 9th. And I'm trying to get people from our local WILF to sign up because we don't get any coverage, zero of anything we do in the local media. And this is the wave of the future. Because as corporate media closes down, then some of these outposts like Vermont are going to be the exceptions. And what is the norm here? We moved off campus, our PBS, to kind of a fortress facility down the road. It takes out 90% of the foot traffic. And people can only go to these meetings now and not speak. It's supposed to be community advisory, but you can't speak. It used to be that they would give time for announcements. But you can turn that around. So we're working on that. On the street, you like to know what's going on the street. This is not getting any coverage, but well, maybe that's a different point, what we're doing against Raytheon and their manufacturer here in town. But because Raytheon, basically, it's a company town, and one of the companies is Davis Monthan, and the other is Raytheon. So it's very difficult to get anything directly critical of the war. That is why I got this op-ed in the paper, and I gave you all the link. It talks about rhetoric that ratchets down the heat, and that's about as close as you can get to working on peace issues here in town, talking about the rhetoric of heating things up, polarization, and that is even a stretch to get that in. So that was yesterday. I got that in the local paper.
Well done. Okay. Thank you. Robin, yes.
Yes, so I'm going to the community advisory group here in Vermont next week, and they have, it's announced a forum or whatever. I don't know whether I can talk or not. I would expect I can, but maybe I should talk with you, Gloria, to to find out what the best points are to make with them. So I'll be in touch.
Yeah, and if you can't talk, just another fast thing, you can wear a peace hat because sometimes your words on your shirt get covered up in meetings. I have a hat with big doves on it.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So it is very important, that we try to, and I know all the other organizations that I come across in this coalition work are all very much, trying to get something in the local newspapers or even the major newspapers about what they're doing, what their point of view is. And so PBS is an enormous organization, and we should certainly, they have democracy now, but that's about, the
They
most
knocked it
liberal.
off here. They don't carry it on our PBS. It's been knocked off. So,
dear. That's
this
terrible.
this one is going toward freezing out the public, and we've got to work on it, even though Raytheon runs this town.
Right. Okay. So, Diane, yes, your hand is up. Yes.
Yes, so I was just going to say it's just not in Tucson where the media is, where things aren't talked about, because the Rage Against the War, the big demonstrations we've had in DC got basically no coverage at all.
Yep.
In the Washington Post. So there's that. But I thought I would mention that Ralph Nader this week was his 500th program, his 500th podcast. So he's been doing it for 10 years. And boy, does he talk about different things. So I just think he is a fantastic, 500, you can listen to 500 of them. But every week he comes out with something. I think it's just a really good program. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. All right. So now I noticed that Eileen is not here, which is unfortunate on two counts. One is she would have been talking to us more about lethal autonomous weapons, but more importantly, she's down towards the end of these campaign reports on what she's doing for Congress. Maybe Ellen, can you send a special message to Eileen and see if you can get her onto this meeting? Because I do want her to tell us more about the Congress.
I'll give her a call.
Or
Okay.
somebody give her a call. Thank you. So Diane and Cheryl, it says, item 6, promote peace via treaties. I don't think you could say Diane and I have done anything specifically on this, unless Diane is agreeing with me. I think that we do read in the newspapers that we have this comprehensive ban on testing nuclear weapons. There's rumors that Putin may be withdrawing from that, having Russia withdraw from that. We read that, Iran and the US are trying to maybe get back onto the joint treaty that reduces Iran's ability to make nuclear weapons. So things are going on, and you just need to all keep your eye on news reports and what other people tell us about that.
Where did you see this news report about Iran?
Well, the Arms Control Association is an organization I'm a member of, and so in their magazine and in their electronic emails, they have mentioned that it's maybe going to restart. So it's not.
Thank you.
All right. Robin, you're next. Collaborating with Africa sections and working against AFRICOM. Have you made some progress there?
Yes, we have an event on the 28th of October, which is Remembering Toward Freedom magazine, which was committed mainly to the non-aligned movement and to Africa. And we have a speaker from Africa who was also the one who was on the Teresa El Amin got him speaking on when she was involved with the latest. I don't know what it was, but anyway, he's his name is Ganaka Legata, and I want this. This will be it will be available for people to zoom in, and I think it will be very interesting. He will be speaking about Pan-Africanism and what it means in the future of African nations talking with each other. So I will be alerting all of our branches and sections there to please tune in and participate.
Right. So that is a Saturday. I'm just looking. That's Saturday, the 28th of October. Is
Yeah.
it? Do you have a registration page you could put in the meeting chat in our chat now, or will we
Not
wait
yet.
for you? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Um,
It'll be in the middle of the day, kind of thing.
It's actually it's connected. It's going to be starting at 10 in the morning and showing the film Battle of Algiers, which is a battle of the Algerian people against the French colonists. And it's a famous film and made many years ago, but my co-partner on this, Sandy Baird, insists that it's the best thing. So that's at 10 o'clock, and then at noon, we'll be having a luncheon, and that's when we do presentations on the memory of Toward Freedom and bring in Dr. Ganaka Legata. So there'll be different parts of it, and I will let people know. I'll send we do have a poster out, so I'll send that out to folks. Should I put it online now or give it
Well,
to you?
you could put it in the chat. You could send it to me if you want me to forward it to everybody.
Okay.
I mean, we can do a heads up. That's not that long from now. So we can always do a heads up, and then later there will be a registration. So in a similar fashion, I just want to remind you that on the 12th of October, next Thursday, there is the last One WILPF call of the year, possibly the last One WILPF call of ever, because Mary Beth has run out of steam doing them almost single-handedly. And there will be an American Indian gentleman talking about how uranium mining.
Ian Zavarte.
Yes, Ellen
Ian
just said his
Zavarte
name.
is going to be speaking.
He'll
Yeah.
be speaking about that, and then we will have an announcement there. So please do sign up. These One WILPF calls are always very, very informative. And
So the date is when?
It's the 12th, October the 12th, which is Columbus
this Thursday,
Day.
and it remind us what
Second day.
time it starts, Ellen.
7, I believe. Yeah.
Let me look in my own diary, because I think I'm already.
It's 4 p.m. your time, Cheryl.
Yeah,
I've
4
got
p.m.
Eileen on the phone who says that she thought she had communicated with you. So, but she can answer any questions. Cheryl, do you want to?
She has. I was hoping she would. At the last meeting, Eileen, pardon me, kindly volunteered to start thinking about what the Disarm Committee's contribution would be to our domestic Congress next May in Minneapolis. As you know, it is called, the theme is Water, Pathways to Peace. And we talked about it at the last meeting. It's in the minutes. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of conflict over water for thousands of years, ongoing all over the world. And she's been doing some research, and she will be preparing at least a website that will be part of the Congress. And
let me explain. I sent you the draft, Sarah.
Yeah. Yes.
the chronology that I was going to offer to put on the website that
Right.
is going to be for the Congress committee. That has to be discussed. I did talk with Nancy Price, who is the chair of this committee, the program part of the Congress, and she liked the idea. And I gave you as complete a draft as I could. Although I just found out from Julie Kabuyani, who's in my branch, that the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's two Congos that you know now, is having water issues, and I mean conflicts over them, and it was not in my chronology. So it's not complete as more information's coming in. I was looking for feedback from anybody in Disarm if they want to work on that with me. And I know you already offered me articles, and I so appreciated that, Carol. And that's all I have. It's a work in progress. And our next committee meeting, I will probably still not have a computer. They're backed up because the college kids are back, and I don't know, something happens about a month after they're in college. All their computers kind of crash or something. They're all keeping Apple busy right now, and I need Apple services.
Right. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Yes, Eileen is suffering from a lack of a computer. She has to give it to Apple to get it sorted out. Pardon me. But she is starting to think about what our committee would contribute to Congress. At least one thing we might contribute. And so I would very much like if somebody else from this committee would offer to work with Eileen on what we might be doing for Congress. I know it's months away, but you'll recall that Nancy Price, who couldn't be here either, told us that by the middle of October, she's the program chair of the Congress. She wants us to give her something about what we're likely to do. Every issue committee is obviously being asked to provide something so that people going to Congress will have workshops to attend or panels to listen to. So Eileen, I think you all know Eileen's email address. You could write to her directly, or you could write to me and I would forward that to you. Gloria, I see your hand up.
Okay.
Yes, I
You
do
wanna
have,
stay on, Eileen?
I do have something to say to Eileen and everyone, that I hope we're making this fully hybrid because of carbon footprint. Everybody goes everywhere in person, and that's not entirely necessary. We should make this Congress one of the first that is very hybrid, so people can do a lot by Zoom. This is a big concern here in Arizona. Margaret is very concerned about it, and several people here are. And, this is the 21st century. We need to have that. So maybe having a panel on hybrids and how to use Zoom and making sure we're making the best use of our time and not flying when we don't need to. Thank you.
Idea.
So let me just say, Gloria, those comments should go to the program, to the Congress Organizing Committee, which is not Eileen, and it's not us, and it's not actually Nancy. It's a different group who I believe are chaired by D. Murphy. Am I right, Ellen? So if you wanted to advocate,
Nancy's in charge of the program, and
yes,
Dean is in charge of the semantics. No, that's
right.
the wrong word.
So the logistics. So it's
up, the places. And,
right. So D is the one. D. Murphy is the one. If you have strong feelings on the fact that some of this should be live streamed, which costs a lot of money.
Technical things, yeah, that is D. You're right.
Yes, yeah. So that goes to D. So Gloria and Margaret, would you please pass your and I'm sure you've seen her email address is got the word nuggings in it. Okay, fine.
And they are working on it, but it's good to encourage.
Right. So, okay, so that was, okay, I think So Eileen, that was, we skipped. So we're on item 5(8), because that would have been E, Eileen and Nancy working on Congress. So Earth Democracy, Nancy's not here to talk about it. Middle East, Odile, and we all discussed the current situation in the Middle East earlier. Diane, do you have anything to say about no to NATO?
Well, there, WILF International is having a, it's a webinar, I guess, on, anyway, I have it. It's at 6 o'clock in the morning for me. So I wrote to David Swanson because he's doing this big thing about organizing. He's having a meeting tomorrow. So I'll be attending that.
Who?
And David Swanson, he's
okay.
doing this big thing the weekend before the NATO meets. So he's doing something Friday and Saturday, and he's so that he's had a couple meetings about it already. And but I sent him that stuff, and then he wrote, well, we need to get together. And George Friday said, yes, we do. So anyway, that's about where we are with that. They're going to have a walk across the country with the No to NATO, starting in California, coming across the whole country. So that's a big thing, and they're going to end up in DC at that week.
So
and Robin has.
So just to say that, so WILF International has this event, which you all, if you're members and you get things from WILF International, but I do believe somebody has reiterated it to the branches. It's 3 a.m. my time. I can do midnight, but I can't do 3 a.m. That's too much. So I registered. And I said in there, please send me the recording. So go ahead and register for these things, please, even if you can't go to them. So then you will get the recording sent to you. And right now I can't remember the date for this WILF International.
17th.
17th of October?
October 17th, which is a Tuesday.
A Tuesday, right. So please, some of you go.
Do you have the link to register, Diane?
I think I did. I think I registered. I don't know.
Do you have the link? Can you put it in the chat for others?
Oh, I'd have to go through emails and stuff. I'm sorry. Everybody should have gotten it. If you didn't get it, let me know, because I mean, it's from National WILF and you all should get it.
International WILF.
I got it, and I was going to attend. Unfortunately, my computer is it's going to take a few days to get it sorted out.
Right. So that's Eileen. Let me, while somebody else talks, I will find it in my email and put it. If you didn't sign up for my WILF, you will not get those emails. Okay. You have to go another step beyond being a member of WILF, okay, to sign up for something called My WILF with your own password and everything. And then that gets you all the emails that come out of International, which is...
You do that by going to wilf.org and then look for My WILF.
Mm-hmm. And when I say all of them, I don't mean to make it sound like there's a lot. Actually, you don't get a lot from them. They don't overwhelm you. But you do hear about these meetings, because I've heard other people say, well, I didn't know that was happening. Well, that's because they're not on the right email list. You all have to take some responsibility for making sure you're on the relevant email lists. Robin, you have your hand up? Yes.
I was on a call this afternoon that was excellent with the woman from Canada named Lawrence. What's her first name? And she was interviewing Jacques Baud, who has written a book called Operations. Anyway, he has been involved as a security person and a high-level negotiator with everything around Ukraine, and it was excellent. Was no one else on that call? I could put the link to it. I mean, it will be played again, I'm sure, but this guy Baud has BAUD has, you know, an excellent analysis of the history, you know. So I will put that in the link.
Thank you.
So when I looked at the thing, it just has to click where you click on this thing to register. But what do you, so when you say you want the link, what, I don't know. When you click on register, what I get, is that what you want? Okay.
No, well, okay, here. So George Friday at 7:40 a.m. my time this morning sent to WILF branches, and I know you're not all on WILF branches. It's called WILF Global Call, okay? It's called a WILF Global Call, and so there's the agenda, register to attend. I'm going to ask to open that link in a new tab on my thing here, and then that should give me a URL. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up and going to put it in the chat, and it is 3 a.m. Pacific time, 6 a.m. New York time. But do at least register. There you go. All right, and then and they do record these, and you will get a recording. Okay. So I think we've done with campaigns little 8. So now we're on to problems with radioactive waste. Pam Richards. Item 9 under 5. Do you have any new stuff to tell us about working with ANA, etc.? Pam.
Not at the present moment. I'm just kind of waiting for our annual meeting, which actually our fall meeting, which will be coming up in about a week and a half. So I will report after that.
Okay, do you need, remind me, is that a meeting in person or that's a meeting over the web?
It's on the web.
Is it a meeting that you'd like some of us to attend some of it or not?
I'm not really sure. I'll have to let you know if it is. It's the 15th and 16th. And so far, I think it's just the ANA members.
Okay, all
But
right.
it may be an open meeting. I'll find out if it's open meeting, okay?
Okay,
All right.
I mean, because they always have interesting information and ideas.
Exactly. Yes.
And so it is a good organization that I consider us a member of that coalition through people like Pam, and Ellen has been going to their meetings for donkey's years, right, Ellen?
For a while, yeah. I haven't recently, of course, because I've been too far away,
but now
but definitely if we can access the fall meeting, since we pay dues to ANA, so
then
we're welcome.
you should be able to. All right, I'll just make sure that Cheryl gets the fall meeting link.
Yeah,
so
send
that
it
she
to
can send it
Disarm
out to
Chair.
people.
If you'd send it to Disarm
Okay.
Chair, Cheryl will
Disarm
get it,
Chair.
and so will Diane and me, so we'll.
Right.
Okay.
That's the
Right.
you
great.
said the 15th and 16th of October.
Or is it the 16th and 17th? Wait, let me look. I have to look. Wait a minute.
Okay. Odile, you had something in the meantime?
I just wanted to say that I had been 3 times also to ANA, twice in Washington and once in Colorado, to understand what they were doing, and it's very interesting.
Okay.
But it's too much. It was too much for me to keep up with.
Okay.
Okay. The fall meeting is the 16th and 17th. Thursday and Friday. November 16th and 17th.
No, that's Monday and Tuesday.
November.
November, pardon me, November. Ah, okay. So it's further away than I thought. So we have time to find out. Thank you. I was thinking October. That was wrong. So,
okay.
All right. Thank you, Pam. So item 10 under campaigns is divesting. And I think earlier I told you about our intention to work with ICANN on that topic at the meeting of states parties in New York City at the UN. And so, Odile, you want to say a bit more about that?
Yes, well, I thought that we could focus on those resolutions, the resolution to the city hall about divesting from nuclear weapon, but I haven't had time to look for that resolution from Cambridge. I met people from Cambridge who did that divestment, and I had it some time ago, but I don't know now. I probably can find it on the web.
So, yes, there is actually a very nice website that has listed all of those resolutions.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So Cambridge is one of many cities that have essentially the city council says we won't, city councils have a budget and they have their money, and some of it has to be invested because they don't need it all at every day. And we try to persuade the city councils not to divest it into companies such as Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, etc. So that is a kind of a grassroots way.
Yes.
WILPF branches can do this.
Many cities have resolution, but not so many have passed it.
Okay, right. So there's two levels. One is you get the city to say, yeah, we think it's a good idea, yeah. But then do they actually do it? That's another.
Yes.
That needs an ordinance, usually. Needs an ordinance that they have to agree
resolution, they have to vote on it, yeah.
Right. Pam, you had your hand up again?
Yes, the city of Madison actually just passed the back from the brink resolution on Tuesday, October 3rd. And it's a major city. They will be working on divestment with Physicians for Social Responsibility. And I'm working on some divestment too, but not only divestment from, through the ICANN, Don't Bank on the Bomb, but also divest from the war machine and also divesting from fossil fuels. I'm trying to pull it all together.
Right. There are several coalitions already working on this. And
I'm trying to make it so people can access how to do it.
Yes, thank you. Well, what we have to, this side event, when you're in the UN, you're trying to educate other people about what they might be doing in their countries. So that, to me, also Susie has connections with people in financial institutions. She actually has another side event on Wall Street with a company on Wall Street that is outside the UN. And so you have to tackle this divesting from various angles. One is getting the institutions to divest, and the other is getting financial houses, the brokers to agree to not put them in their portfolios.
She was interested in getting us to work on the divestment from TIA-CREF. It's investments that university professors or people working for university invest in, and she was interested. They have a fund that is divested from a responsible fund that you can put your money in, but she thought it would be interesting if we were trying to go a little bit further on the rest of the investment. So I have some connection to TIA-CREF. I do have some investment in it. And I have it's called a responsible fund myself, but I will try to invest to see my time to see if they have anything invested in nuclear weapon on the rest of their investment.
There is a website that actually lists, I can't remember which one it is right now, but they can tell you company by company, by investment company by investment company, yes, or mutual fund by mutual fund, how much they are actually investing in, right down to Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, the usual suspects.
I see Pam has her hand up.
Yes, Pam. did you have something else on this? Because I see the time. We can't hear you.
No, nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
I gotta lower
All
my
right.
hand.
You should put your hand down.
I'm gonna, okay,
Okay.
all
All
right.
right. So we are, and I have asked the delegates, the people on this call who are delegates to that meeting, to stay on at the end of the meeting so we can discuss how we're going,
Okay.
what I'm to say to Susie Snyder tomorrow. I've
I
offered
can-
our help. We've
I
got to
can
see.
stay for a little while, but at 10 p.m. I have to go.
Oh yeah, fine. Yeah, hopefully not too long. All right, so we're down to item 11 on the campaigns, of course, is our end the war in Ukraine, which we already dealt with. All right, so now we're into committee support projects. These are the logistics of being an issue committee. Okay, the first item is Ellen to tell us how much money we have in our bank account, please. Yeah, if you got,
Okay, we still have, as far as I know, $1,919.74.
okay.
It
So
hasn't
then,
gone up or down.
Say
Thank you.
again.
1,920.
close enough. $1920. So that brings us to the next item on this logistical part of being a committee is so 6 of us are going to go to New York City. 1 of us lives there. Other people are going and staying with their relatives, I presume for free. But Odile and I have to pay between us over $1,000 for 5 nights in one of the cheapest hotels we could find that wasn't too far from the UN headquarters. Okay. And so I can cover that myself, but Odile has a request for, she would like some help with her travel expenses. Would you like to say how much you'd like, Odile?
Well, we're going to spend 1,000 for hotel,
More than 1,000, actually. Mhm.
and then it's probably going to be 350 to 500 in transportation. So I was wondering if 500 would be possible.
We have it.
So
Yeah.
we have previously helped, you might recall, McGregor with some of her expenses to get her down to the, Vandenberg. Oh dear. Okay. Oh no, we're not down to any other business yet. So, do I see anybody who has any objections to a deal being
I
given?
move we allocate $500 to cover these expenses that for our representative.
I second it.
Okay. As I
Thank
say, I will manage myself. Do I see any objections? No. Okay. So then I would please, Ellen or Odile, would you work that out?
Okay, thank you.
Do you need it ahead of the meeting, or would you just submit some
No,
expense report
I will submit expense report.
at the end?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you send that to me and I will authorize. I need copy of receipts and then
Yes,
I
of
can
course, of
authorize
course.
you being paid.
Of
Mhm.
course.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yes, I've spent much too much time on Airbnb and hotels.com and booking.com looking for hotels that are not too far.
Yeah,
If you're willing to
I did
spend
that.
2 hours on a train getting into the city, it's cheaper. But, we're supposed to be in meetings all day in the UN headquarters. So we actually have a hotel that's walking distance, 45 minutes walking, and includes a ferry trip across the East River, a pedestrian you can walk onto and walk off. Anyway, so that's probably how we're going to be getting from our hotel to the UN. Okay, so we added 2 things to the agenda earlier. which was
MacGregor,
Alan had a topic, and what was the other topic?
MacGregor,
Who?
MacGregor,
Sorry,
MacGregor.
McGregor.
McGregor.
Katie.
McGregor, would you just go first and tell us?
Yes, this won't take long.
Oh.
Remember, I was working on 2 programs at Vandenberg. One was educational and one was actual things at the front gate. I thought I had given up on the front gate, but all of a sudden people are interested. I just got back from Los Angeles. I am very tired. I was on the train all day today. It was a lovely, restful train, but it's still long. And there's another person who will come. So it is growing. I've done a radio interview with Code Pink, and my co-interviewee was Dan Ellsberg, because I'm not an expert. So I just tell what we're doing. And then the expert was the tapes that are all prepared at Diffused Nuclear War. It was on Marcy Winograd's Code Pink show. So he was the expert and I was the local person telling what we're doing. And I thought that was a brilliant idea of mine to use him as the expert, because they've made these tapes that you can use. It's just 2.5 minutes. They're all edited and ready to go on diffused nuclear war on a variety of topics. You ask their permission and you're doing an interview with Dan Ellsberg. You say what you say, and then here's why it's important. And you play his tape with their permission, with their delighted permission. So I just want to say it's a resource, because there's this whole expert thing. You're not an expert. Well, we have an expert speak for us. And the tapes are available. Check it out and use them in your work. It enriches your interview. I'm doing another interview. I'll tell you about it when it gets done, also with diffused nuclear war. The purpose of these is to go with the launches. So when they send up a launch, it is news. If we have the launches are all the same. Sometimes they put 1 dummy, sometimes they put 3, but they're basically the same. So you can have canned statements ready about what they are. And so we're getting them ready so we can put together a webinar with pre-approved, pre-permission, ready to go. They send up the rocket. We have these taped comments from experts and from people, from a Chumash woman, from Dan Ellsberg on tape. So we're collecting them slowly. So I just want to say it's happening. It's not happening much with WILPF, but you were there at the beginning. It's gone on without WILPF, which is our dream as organizers, isn't it? To have things grow out of our hands. And pretty soon it'll be out of my hands, which is very good because I'm too far away. So that's it.
Well, thank you, McGregor. That sounds like, so you might recall over the years, Daniel Ellsberg did podcasts. And so what you're talking about is you can clip out of them and have him speak. Although he's passed away, you have him speak about various aspects of various things. And this is the ICBMs, which we know are the most dangerous part of the nuclear weapon triad that the US maintains as a threat to the rest of the world. So is it possible? So this Code Pink radio, McGregor, is there a URL you can put in the chat?
I don't know. I'm sure I can get it. I didn't actually hear it myself. I've taken on a new role with World Beyond War and appeared for the first time as their representative in Los Angeles last night. And I went down and back by train, so I'm extremely tired right now. I'm not going to stay on after. I'm going to finish saying this and say goodnight. But this assignment is going to mean less work for me, not more, because it means other people are working on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's great. But if you have a link later, you can send it to me.
I will find out as soon as I get some sleep and then wake up. I will send all kinds of things out. But
oh, good.
Thank you.
The organizing is good, but the news is scary. They're being very bellicose. They're bragging about how big their bombs are and how far they can go, which they don't usually do after a launch.
Right. I said that in the minutes.
Yeah, you did. Very good job. But I just meant it's scary. It's good to talk to you guys because it's scary to read about these stuff by myself.
Okay.
It's scary.
Diane, you were waving your hand.
So I just brought up codepink.org/radio and it came up with play the latest episode. So I am going to try to listen. I'll see what it says. But you can, just Google Code Pink Radio and I think everybody could find it.
I think it was
Okay,
2 weeks
if
ago.
you
I don't
could put it in-
remember.
Put it
Yeah.
in the chat anyway, Diane, that would be helpful. Okay, so the last thing on the item is Alan is going to tell us about conversations he's been having about a possible 25th anniversary event of the Hague Peace Conference that happened 25 years ago.
The Hague Appeal for Peace, it was mid-May in 1999, an effort to honor the effort in 1899 to abolish war, a conference convened by the Queen of the Netherlands and the Tsar of Russia, who considered war crazy and that should just be stopped, and they wanted to get all the crown heads together to agree to that, and they were not successful, as we all know. 100 years later, Cora Weiss and
Wait. I want on mute.
No, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
so
Yes, but
yeah.
Alan could come a little closer to the microphone.
I can't hear back. What did you do?
I know.
We can hear you.
There,
Go
there,
ahead.
that should be okay. So a group of peace activists put together the idea to honor this effort and to put forward an agenda for the 21st century to the abolition of war and peace and security for everyone. And they did a very beautiful statement about alternatives and education and so on, the Hague Agenda for Peace in the 21st Century. And there were about 10,000 activists who actually gathered in The Hague from literally every peace organization in the world, and had many, many workshops on a variety of topics. And it seemed to me, it seems to me that the 25th anniversary of that effort calls for at least a remembrance, a reevaluation of that agenda, and a similar effort of gathering the voice of the world's peace movement in some coherent way. I wouldn't say now a meeting at a place, but with the new technology, a world meeting that would gather all the peace voices from every country and continent of the world would be a very positive and practical event, and quite needed as the war craziness seems to escalate. And that as an organizational orientation, it could be beneficial for everyone. So anyhow, I called Cora Weiss. I said, as I had before, she said, find some younger people. She's not up to that, but she thinks it's a good idea. And so I called her this morning and said, well, I had raised it at the last meeting of the Disarm, and it was at least out there, and Robin Lloyd expressed a little interest, and probably other people who were at that La Hague meeting would. Did she know who had control of the archives or the connection list from that Hague meeting? That we could follow up in some way to see how do we generate something 25 years later, looking for hopefully 25 years forward. And she said, oh, I know who has this. There's no organization anymore. There's no office anymore, but I know who and she gave me the name of the person, and I will call him up and get him and you in touch with each other and see what resource there is available that could stimulate a rethinking of this in an appropriate, efficient way. So I wanted to report that and hope that could actually be some imagination about Well, how do we get everybody together? This is that we're in so many different silos. Even thinking about this current situation, if WILPF and the Fellowship of Reconciliation and the War Resisters International and World Beyond War could in some way get together for a sharp, strong statement now that world peace organizations begin to call forward and gather a global voice, we need something like that to manifest civil society. And so anyhow, remembering 25 years later what Cora and Peter Weiss and her friends did at The Hague might be beneficial if we look forward past what we need to say today about the atrocities everywhere. Anyhow, that's my little report. Cora was very glad to be remembered. She and Peter are well enough, and Peter said, "Who is that?" And Cora said, "Well, that's Alan Haber, the peace table guy." So I appreciated the recognition, and so I wanted to report. It was a good feeling, and I think it's crossing generations in a way that might be very beneficial as we try and prepare for the next.
Okay, thank you, Alan. As I say, at the moment, we have a lot of different organizations issuing their own statements on the Gaza-Israel situation. And I wouldn't be surprised if something doesn't happen in the next few days as a coalition. So, Robin, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wondered whether she had, the woman you were speaking, Nora Weiss, had offered money to make it happen. She has the money. Why isn't she offering it to the groups? Maybe we need to ask her for the money.
Thank you, Robin. I will keep that in mind. I was just trying to see if she had some spiritual consciousness in this direction. And I was waking her up to the opportunity. And if there is more in a material way, definitely to follow up on the contacts that were made 25 years ago. And that continued for about 10 years, as I remember that network. Take some money in terms of postage and just mobilizing a communication pulse out into the world.
Could you send me her mailing, her phone number? I may have it, but maybe she's moved. And I have another subject to bring up, and that is that the Nobel Peace Prize was just given to a woman from Iran, I believe, an activist. But the Nobel Peace Prize Watch says that this is not appropriate, that Nobel wanted the Peace Prize to be given to someone actually working on disarmament. And he felt strongly about that. Has anyone gotten an email from the Nobel Peace Prize Watch? Anyway, number one on Nobel Peace Prize Watch as to who should get an award is Madeline Reese.
Okay.
Are any of our, I mean, we're never in touch with her, right? Or she's never in touch with us, but I would like to just do an action alert or something to say to say this and give acknowledgement to that.
Well, you should speak.
So could you,
I
I'm
understand
not familiar with this
she's
watch.
retiring from being the
What's that?
executive of WILPF. I understand.
That's a rumor at the moment, isn't it? We heard what I consider a rumor, which is she is retiring from being our general secretary.
Oh, really?
Is that, but Ellen, how sure are we of this?
I'm not sure at all.
No. But nevertheless, she has been it for many years. It doesn't stop her from receiving a prize for helping with disarmament.
Oh, no.
So, Robin, you need to give us a link there about this Nobel Prize Watch people. And I did mention it, I think, in one of my emails to you. that this Nargis Mohammadi, who just won the prize, and they also said it was on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of political prisoners in Iran and all the women who've been fighting these new rules about clothing and being thrown into prison because of it. It's not disarmament, right? But she's a physicist by training, and my physics society, my professional society, gave her what we call the Sakharov Prize in 2018. And when you get such a prize, you come to a meeting of the American Physical Society, you give an acceptance speech. Well, she was in prison already and still. So she sent a good friend of hers, who I had the pleasure of introducing and chairing that session where Nargis's very inspiring speech was read out by her friend. So, and there is a whole group of Iranian women here in the US who are working on these kind of issues. But anyway, nevertheless, Robin, if you could put in the link in the chat, this Nobel Peace Prize watch people who believe that it was only supposed to be mostly about disarmament. Remember, Nobel made his money through explosives. And so this was his regret at the end of his life to make up for all the damage his company had done over the years.
Where does it fit with Obama having gotten it?
Yeah, well, of course, he was supposed to have been trying to, at the time, come to some more agreements with Russia and what have you, and we know that really didn't come through. So, okay, thank you for that information, Robin. If you could put something in the chat or send it to me later, and I'll disperse it. And we don't forget to hit the little arrow that says send it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so I think we just need to set the next meeting date.
The 29th.
The last, remember, we're the second and last Sunday of the month. October has 5 Sundays, so it comes up to be the 29th. It's the day before Halloween. A lot of people might be having
2 days.
2 days before Halloween, pardon me. But it's the Saturday, no, it's a Saturday, anyway, I'm hoping that nobody has any reason to say we should not have it on the 29th. You don't all have big Halloween parties you're going to be
It's a Sunday. It's a Sunday night.
It's a Sunday night, but still, it's the weekend, and I know I've been invited to a party that night, or that afternoon, so, but maybe the rest of you haven't. So we'll go ahead, not hearing anybody complain that it would mean they'd miss some marvelous Halloween party. We'll go ahead with that. Okay, I think we're done with the official agenda. And Peggy, you could say that we closed at 9:34.
Yeah, but
in
9 I have to call Mark, so
9:34 p.m. Eastern time. And I thank the rest of you. I'm going to stay on with Robin, Odile, and Martha. Are you still here, Martha?
Let's see if anybody has any last words.
Any
Cheryl.
last words? Okay.
Do I send this to Cheryl?
Yeah.
Send it to Disarm Chair
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
at wilpfus.org.
Anything else?
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Right. So don't close the meeting, please.
I won't.
Please, would you all just leave except the people?
Okay, I can't leave till I know when the next meeting is. Is it at
It's October the 29th.
4:30?
As whatever time it usually is in your time zone, that is the
And
time it
Mountain
will
Time, 4:30. Okay.
Same link.
Yes,
Okay,
it's actually
bye.
the same link, and I will be sending emails out to you at least twice ahead of that. So it's
Okay, let's move
Right,
on.
so the rest of you can leave because those of us going to, we've lost Martha.
And we thank you. Very
Yes,
nice.
all right. Thank you, everybody. Please go to all these meetings, go to WILPF next week. And attend the Warheads to Windmills next Saturday, please. And you're all supposed to be sending the sample letter from Andre to women and leaders you know, to get them to contact him about his emergency peace plan.
If you do
Okay.
that, it would be nice if you would let Andre know that you did that. I think it would mean a lot to him.
I resent it with the agenda. I sent his letter again with the agenda to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so Robin has put in the chat. Thank you. Transcend.org. Okay. I'm going to save the chat. Everybody save the chat before you leave. So Hideko and Philip and Pam and Peggy, you can all leave now. Just those of us going to this meeting need to have a quick.
Keep going. We don't have to wait till they leave. Let's just
Okay,
start.
fine. Let's start. Okay. So hopefully you had time to read my rather long email about my correspondence with Susie, her enthusiasm about us helping. She has this meeting